Welcome to this new event organized by the Global Supply Chain Council. My name is Max Henry from the organization. I'm very pleased again to have all of you joining us for this new discussion on global sourcing. We call it Global Sourcing, Adapting to Risk, Cost, and Sustainability Pressures. And in today's discussion, we have invited a number of panelists coming from the industry to share their insight and perspective on what's happening in global sourcing. This session is interactive, and we want to again remind you that you can ask questions at any time by clicking on the question mark button located at the bottom of the screen. This will open up the live Q&A. You can ask your question. We'll prioritize those questions at any time, so feel free again to ask your question, and we'll get ready to answer them. This session will only last for 55 minutes. So again, if you're having a call or meeting at 5 p.m. Hong Kong, Singapore, no worries. We'll make sure to wrap up a few minutes before the end of the hour. So before we get started with some of the topics that we prepared, I'd like maybe to get each panelist to introduce themselves, maybe starting with you, Yuan, and if you can unmute and welcome and go ahead. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. This is Yuan Yuan. I'm calling from Switzerland, 10 o'clock in the morning. And I'm happy to be here already, 5 times in this space and really enjoy the conversation with all of you and really looking forward to this topic. And myself has been in procurement, basically in category management for my whole time in corporate life. After 19 years working in IKEA from Shanghai, Sweden, and Switzerland, now I decided to build the business around sustainability in supply. That's basically a little bit the extension of my passion, than to say the responsibility from supply to improve the ESG and also the sustainability topic. I'm really happy to be here. Looking forward.
Great to see you, Yuan. Thank you very much again for the intro. We have Rod also joining us. Hi, Rod. Go ahead. Make sure to unmute you. Just click on the microphone.
Sorry, I was trying to unmute and press the wrong button. Yes, Rod Hozak from Oliver White Asia Pacific, based in Sydney. Apologies for a croaky voice. I'm still getting over the flu. My interest is more internal and getting the foundations right to be able to reliably base a procurement strategy around, which I've seen go backwards. You can probably tell from my age in the last 20 and 30 years, I've seen a change in the landscape, but trying to get the fundamentals right is my particular focus.
Thank you, Rod. Okay, thanks a lot. We have Deepak as well joining us. Welcome, Deepak. Go ahead, yeah. You're muted. Just make sure to unmute. Just click on the microphone. No, okay. Just maybe refresh your page, Deepak, one more time, and you'll come back. We'll come back to you after. We have Ankit also joining us. Ankit, make sure to unmute. Go ahead, yeah.
So, good morning and good afternoon to the, let's say, attendees. I know everybody is joining from the different part of the world. So, for me, it's the first time representing in this panel. My name is Ankit. I work for one GCC-based large IPP, which is, you can say, renewable energy company, which is Aqua Power. I've been into the supply chain and procurement domain for last 15 years. Extremely passionate about driving the intelligent and digital large supply chains and procurement, let's say, teams. Throughout my career, I have focused on integrating the operational excellence with all the digital transformation. Currently, as a part of Aqua Power, I drive the initiatives around the digital supply chain, circular economy models, and then the overall supply chain performance management.
Great. Good to see you, Ankit, again. We have as well Sandeep joining us. Welcome, Sandeep. Go ahead, yeah.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, just, towards the Asia side, going towards that. So, this is Sandeep. I'm based out of Dubai and I work for Domino's Pizza and take care of Middle East, North Africa, Pakistan for them. Basically, I've been into supply chain for almost like 20 plus years, and definitely a global supply chain for last 12, 13 years now, looking after MENA regions. And it's a great topic to talk about it because it's a hot topic at this point of time. So I'm sure everybody will enjoy the conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sandeep. We have Iqbal as well joining us. Make sure to unmute Iqbal. Welcome, yeah.
Thank you, Max. Hello, everyone. Happy to be here. My name is Iqbal. I'm work uh, in Jakarta, Indonesia right now. PT Pupuk Indonesia, one of the biggest fertilizer manufacturer in Southeast Asia, of course. My experience is more than 15 years in procurement and supply chains also. And right now, my role is in strategic and operations procurement.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Good to see you, Iqbal. Deepak,
Thank
yes,
you.
it's working now. Go ahead. Welcome, yeah.
All right. So good morning, good afternoon. I'm Deepak Dwivedi, 20 years in telecom with MNCs like Nokia and Ericsson in procurement supply chain. And recently was heading market procurement operations across 8 countries in Southeast Asia and South Korea, based out of Singapore. Happy to join this panel and looking forward to sharing insights from broadly telecom perspective today.
Great. Thank you, Deepak. Okay, great to have you again, all of you joining this discussion on global sourcing. I want to remind again the people who just joined us during the intro that we want to make this session interactive. So if you want to ask a question to the panelists, you can do so by clicking the question mark button located at the bottom of the screen. We try to get those questions earlier in discussion, so I will prioritize them. And when I see some interesting questions, we will take them as they come. Let's jump right into the topic. And again, when we talk about global sourcing in 2025, what does it mean today for you today compared to 5, 10 years ago? Well, of course, we've been through COVID. What do post-COVID, what has changed the most in your experience when we talk about global sourcing? Sandeep?
Thank you, Max. So, very relevant question because last 4 years, in terms of the procurement, sourcing, overall supply chain has been concerning, fun. Why, like I will always sum it in one word. We have been romancing the chaos. Uh, uh, so, so definitely, and it's a great learning lesson. But because of that, supply chains has moved out of warehousing to the boardrooms now. So that became great leap. So if you see the COVID part of it, which actually just came to teach us that how the whole contingency planning has to be based out of it, and you really cannot put all your eggs into one basket because if the basket bursts, then something really wrong can happen to you. And it was not actually teaching you the lesson regarding your suppliers. It was teaching you the lesson about something which is unavoidable and how to control an unavoidable situations, which is very tricky. Okay. We thought of that by 2021 end, the COVID will end and the world will be a great place to live in. And definitely we were all hoping for that. And then what came was Russia-Ukraine thing that happened. And that has a lot of direct, indirect impacts on Europe, Middle East, commodities, lot of different impacts in terms of gas, in terms of the inflations, in terms of a lot of other things that was never seen before. And I'm maybe just trying to concentrate more towards the Middle East and this part of the world because there where I am. And definitely by the time this starts happening, and I'm not saying it was bad things happening, there were good and bad things happening, but I'll say it were tricky things happening, very tricky, where there's no trends, is not seen, the systems cannot recognize it. Okay, there's no data to it, there's no information to it, and 70%, 60% of the decisions are getting made by the gut feelings, okay, or informations or discussion, that's all. And then definitely we have Russia. After that, we had this Middle East crisis happening with Israel Palestine starting 2023, and we have seen lots of ups and downs. And so definitely, one thing is very clear that one size doesn't fit everywhere. One model doesn't fit everywhere. We have 12 live markets and we have 12 different supply chain models in 12 markets because it's not fitting well there. So I'm saying it's concerning, fun, tricky, whatever you call it as, but definitely it's a very learning situation. Thank you.
Okay, a good point of view, Sandeep. I like the romancing, the chaos. And Katie, do you agree with that? Yeah.
Adding to what Sandeep has mentioned, if you just look at a decade before and now looking at the current perspective, a decade before the procurement and supply chain, it used to be more of let's say the cost arbitrage and transitional efficiency. But now, if you look at, we talk about tech and data driven efficiencies, we talk about the business continuity, we talk about the reducing the carbon footprint. So it has more evolved into the strategic lever and the function rather than more into the efficiency and the cost saving opportunities. That's what I believe will continue to evolve. uh, it's adding the value. If you look at, people are looking at supply chain and procurement more into the P&L side, not into just like in cost center before.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. Deepak, what's your point of view on
Yeah, I
this?
mean,
Yeah, what do you think has changed? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So let's say 10 years ago in telecom, sourcing was primarily about driving cost competitiveness and scale, just to ensure that, okay, supply coverage for all the network rollouts. We optimize spend through volume leverage. So the equation was like the broader your supplier base, the better your cost position. But in 2025 now, the equation has changed completely. So it's no longer just about efficiency, it's also about resilience, adaptability, responsibility. A few examples, let's say supplier diversification. It's not just a strategy, it's a necessity now. So we have learned that being overexposed to one geography or one supplier cluster can actually threaten our business and business continuity. So let's say we have designed a supply chain that are more, let's say, multi-local networks. Other things like sustainability, it's moving from checkbox exercise to more core sourcing criteria now. Another big change is digital transparency. So tools like predictive analytics, supplier risk dashboards, real-time visibility. These are now transforming our decision making. So instead of just reacting to disruptions, so now we can sense and simulate risk when they hit our supply chain. And finally, I would say partnerships also have become more strategic. So we no longer see suppliers as transactional vendors, so they are more innovative partners for us. So we co-develop our strategies in terms of hardware and service portfolio. Yeah. So to me, I think global sourcing means balancing global reach with local resilience. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Deepak. Yeah. Iqbal. Yeah.
Thank you, Max. I'm adding for Deepak and also Sandeep. I agree that right now global sourcing is correlated with the global disruptions also. Global disruptions before 5 to 10 years ago and right now is much faster and much more complex than before. So what we do is right now is that we must prepare in what's seen right now in disruptions by doing of course we already know the risk management first, identification, the risk disruptions, but we must prepare also the resilience that we mentioned before, that the unforeseen disruptions that happen suddenly that we not prepared before and not identified in risk management. So we need to more identify and more making a resilience framework that could prepare us for unforeseen disruption happen. That's to maintain the competitive advantage of the company right now. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Iqbal. Yuan and Rod, what are your views on this? Yeah, Yuan, go ahead first.
Yeah, I mean, my peers has already wonderfully covered most of the key points. And I want to say it's from globalization to regionalization as a very big trend for procurement. And also the procurement and supply chain, I think all of us felt the role we play from operational to strategic in the company, in the business has never been so clear. And also I reflected also recently with some other professions, and it feels like the world will continue to change like this way even more. And it's more like how good we prepare, how good the business could prepare for the scenarios, and how good you see the scenario in front of you, and what are the plan for that in case that happens. For example, if you have a factory at the part of the world, and there's big things for you, and do you have a scenario of this factory will be shut down at a certain time? And what's your plan? So it's more to the extreme level that you need to prepare the scenario and really make a plan for that. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Rod?
I think it's been really interesting. COVID exposed many companies for their lack of proactivity. And there were two schools. Some went, great, we're going to jump in. We need to get our scenario tools in line. And this is kind of before the AI surge. And now I'm seeing those companies adopting some of the AIs. There's fabulous tools out there for commodity projections that are getting ahead of the curve. And then you've got the others that went, no, it's all too hard to be proactive, we'll just react. And the ones that were more proactive and took a business-wide approach as opposed to just procurement, trying to sort things out in an unstable and an ever-increasing, like globalization's just pushed lead times out for companies and also created uncertainty in those lead times, which just fires back to compound the errors that are going on. And we end up having companies not being able to be strategic because they're too busy fighting fires, versus the other one that have taken the opportunity to become more proactive and cross-functional internally to be able to build the resilience in the supply chain that's required.
Okay, thank you. So beyond reacting to shocks, what proactive steps can companies take to build sourcing networks that are truly resilient and agile? What advice do you have for the audience watching us here? What kind of step can they take? Sandeep?
So, but there's no definition to this. There's literally no definition to this. The steps comes with the circumstances. If you see last 1 year, let's say 1.5 years, 2 years, the circumstances has been changing maybe every month. Every month. You're talking of the tariffs. You're talking of the geopolitical situation. You're talking of the trade governed by geopolitical situations. So the number of variables of taking decisions is increasing continuously. How do you summarize that variables in the best fashion to create an inference? Either human do it or AI do it or somebody else do it, but this is what you need to do. And this kind of decisions need to be reviewed by on a regular basis because this is not permanent. One small decision, one small statements in a geopolitical universe can change a lot of things. I'll give you a small example. There was a tariff thing that was going on some 90 days back, 100 days back, and that was overall evolving, including there were disruptions big time on the markets. And during this disruption, what was happening? That was going on a geopolitical level. You really cannot control it. But definitely there was an back-end effect that was coming in. So lot of countries, lot of markets, lot of traders, lot of vendors, they stopped the business because they were not knowing what is coming. And because of that, what happened? There was an indirect situation of the container movement stopped on the majority of the ports in the world. And that created a congestion on the port, and that created a low turnaround situation, which started hiking the cost of the container. So I'm just talking of example of indirect situations coming up. So one side doesn't fit all. I'm again saying that you need to really understand your situation and the decision pertaining to different variables. Maybe AI will help us in next 1-2 years when the machine learning about these situations are more better. But I'm sure these kind of situations have not happened globally before in a lot of places. And there where a human mind and an AI as a whole needs to just get into it to just take a best decision. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, Deepak, you wanted to react also?
Yeah, I mean, as Sandeep mentioned, you can encounter any kind of situation. So in telecom also, let's say, a few steps that we have taken. Actually, of course, one of the biggest challenge, particularly while working in APAC, a huge amount of service sourcing spend. So we have number of tiers of suppliers. So how we manage at each level, and we had a classical global semiconductor shortage a few years ago as well. So we built a control tower for end-to-end visibility of tier 1 to tier N suppliers. That is actually helping and getting down to business and checking every step before that. Of course, the big challenge around single country dependency. So we're moving to multi-local footprints. It's not fully redundant, but you can say smart diversification. Yeah. And of course, to a certain level, we have introduced AI-based tool for risk time and sensing. Yeah. So I think these are few steps that actually is helping, in our area particularly.
Okay. Iqbal, yeah, go ahead, yeah, and then Keith after you.
Okay, thank you, Max. About the question about the proactive in resilience, right? My definitions in my company, my definition is that the resilience first is the ability to recover from what we know is global disruptions that happen, right? So we what we do that we divide about the global disruption into unforeseen that we cannot see and what we see right now. So when we differentiate, categorize from seen and unforeseen that could happen in the future and right now that happens. So the what we see right now, we do, of course, we do the risk management, identifications, mitigation risks, and many more, right? But when that's a proactive way for the global disruption that has already been seen, right? That the problem is become high is when the global disruption is unforeseen. We cannot see in the future what kind of global disruption happening, right? So what we do right now is in resilience. What can we do to have more proactive resilience? Because the resilience framework right now that we implement right now here is that when the unforeseen global disruption happen, then we do the emergency response and also the crisis management, continuity response and business recovery, right? To solve the global disruption that unforeseen happen. But what we experience right now when we see the value chain mapping, also what we just said about the suppliers tiers mapping, also we found out that when the global disruption, for example, in November 2023, there is a disruption for Red Sea attack by Houthi rebels, right? And then before that, we have March in 2021, Suez Canal blocked by Evergiven, I'm sorry. And then before that, also there is a piracy early in 2000. There is a piracy in Somali waters. So what we conclude from these disruptions that this happened in one of the value chains mapping, right? The shipping, the vessel shipping. So what we do to make more proactive resilience is that we identify the value chain mapping, the route for our strategic categories, goods, of course, and then we identified and analyze it. Where is the strategic and where is the most biggest impact that could happen in one of the area of the value chain mapping? Right now, we have the shipping. That's what we do to prepare the emergency response and also the crisis management and continuity response. So when it happens in different forms and different events, we already have the preparations.
What plans? Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Plans,
yeah. Thanks. Ankit, yeah, you wanted to add something, yeah.
I think my colleagues and the peers, they already have explained very well, given the examples also. traditionally, if you look at the tools which are available, let's say CRM or VSM, value stream mapping, so somehow I believe that it really helps. This is what we have been, let's say, using also. My experience across big organizations like Philips, Siemens, where we have worked upon identifying what are the, let's say, inefficiencies or the risk we have via CRM and VSMs, and accordingly you build your framework around it. This is somewhere you can at least anticipate and you prepare for the let's say unwanted situation. However, the way we have seen in last 4 years, anything can happen, and more we test such models, build more and more, build, let's say, the risk associated with the models. I think that's gonna help.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Sandeep, yeah, you wanted to react again, yeah.
The only thing I just wanted to add on is at this moment where the things are like so tricky, I'll say unpredictable, the only thing that actually helps is the right information, is the right data. That information may travel across the countries, across the continents, because one, it's a ripple effect. One thing has an effect on other thing. How do you really read that data is your capability and efficiency. Okay, so that is important, and a joint community action. So when I talk of a joint community action, I'm talking of supply chain community. Okay, talking about something I've been doing multiple conferences over the years, and what you get out of your peers or the people who come to see it or people who come to listen to it, that's priceless, because that some of the things has got so much of impact on the decisions you're taking, because you have a live cases and the situations in front of you before you really take a decision. So that's just wanted to add. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Anirban just joined us. Welcome, Anirban. I know. Thank you very much for making it finally. Anirban was actually supposed to speak, and then he had an emergency issue. But I'm glad that you are here, Anirban, with us. So feel free again to step in and answer those questions. But maybe I'll take those questions coming from the audience first, and then we'll come back to our topics after that. Let me bring this question. This is a question from Louis, who's asking, most discussions are either risk management or sustainability. Are there situations where sustainability helps with risk management while controlling cost? Anybody would like to answer that? Yeah, Anirban, go ahead. Yeah.
Hey, sorry for joining late little. Um, see, there are cases, and I'll take a small used case. So for India subcontinent, we took a kind of a sustainability project with cost control. So we completely mapped our network, and we ensured that each unit of our product is only traveling to downstream. There is no mix of upstream and downstream. So what happens sometimes that when you are having a hub and spoke model, sometimes you realize that your material is moving to downstream and then it is coming back to upstream. So we remapped the entire country's supply planning network, and we ensured that our product is traveling the least. Now, how that is linked with sustainability? Of course, when I am having a 20% less kilometer travel, and unfortunately, our product mostly on road transportation, which is a major contributor of carbon emission. So that means that my X amount of carbon emission tomorrow is straight away 20% less reduction. At the same time, when I'm traveling less kilometer, I'm spending less as well. So it's a absolutely used case scenario 3 years before we'd have done, and there are a lot of appreciation throughout the country for this project on sustainability as well as cost control. So yes, we have done it.
Okay, thank you very much. We have Yuan. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Chong. It's a very, very big, comprehensive question to answer, but I want to say sustainability. There's something under sustainability or included inside of sustainability, which is ESG. And ESG is actually talking about risk. And ESG is a compliance and risk driven as a topic. So I would say yes, ESG. If the company working on the ESG, which is a big topic under sustainability, then you definitely would avoid risk. For example, one big example I would say, talking to insurance company recently. There's a company who don't work on their ESG agenda or has very low rating on the ESG criteria. Most likely, they will not get insured going forward. The insurance company is very conscious about this at the moment. All the climate and the big disruption on many of the big brands recently in these years has made the insurance company be very, very cautious. So the other will increase the payment to the company. So the unit pay higher cost to be insured. If you have very low ESG capability or low rated on the ESG criteria, or you will not get insured. Yeah, the insurance company will be very reluctant to insure you. So that's a very big cost, certainly, but also even your license to operate. But also sustainability, I would say, is a bigger topic that is not compliance risk driven, is more the vision and perspective driven, the future. And in most of the case, it involves on the business model update. Many of the business model at the moment who are successful, including Apple, they are not sustainable business, I have to say. Yeah? They are not circular enough. They still use the resources and asking the people to buy or this wish, I would say, promote the sales, right? Sell their phones. So sustainability is really about business model update and to become, circular. That's really the circular economy comes. That will comes very like increase in revenue, controlling cost, and definitely risk will be part of this architect in the new business model.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Sandeep, you wanted to say something, and the others feel free to raise your hand or unmute so I know that you want to react to that question. That question is actually pretty tricky and difficult to answer, but Sandeep, go ahead. Yeah.
So from my point of view, I'm just talking from our business point of view and in the part of the world we are. The biggest thing as of now, and just a mantra of procurement or overall supply chain, is to bring the source closer. The more closer is the source, the more easier it is to turn around the things. Because when you talk of supply chain today, we talk of two things. One is resilience, one is agility. How to move back faster at that time, how to take a faster decision. The more closer is the source, the more faster it is. So, and the more closer the source, there is a lesser logistic emissions, and lesser, these kind of effects coming in. Okay, you will have a smaller batch production. Your inventory levels will be low. Your cost will be low. Your overall inventory carrying cost, your overall fund management will be much better. So that's just one mantra which we are trying to follow. Difficult to follow in our region because our region is not a region where there's a lot of crops, where there's a lot of kind of thing. But still, whatever you can to just bring it closer. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, Deepak.
Yeah, I think there are a few situations, of course, relating to telecom sector which falls mainly under energy efficiency and waste management. So actually, by investing in renewable energy, I think we initiated something called Circular for Zero. So where we reduce operational costs by lowering energy intensity. And also, there are many telecom OEMs who are actually using closed loop material recovery. There are a lot of base stations where they can recover or reclaim copper and aluminum from these base stations, which actually reduces both input costs and waste disposable fee as well. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So we have more questions, and I also want to remind the audience that you can ask questions again by clicking on the question mark. So if you have a question for any of the panelists or on any of the topics, feel free to ask now so we can take it as they come. Let me take the other questions. We have some interesting ones coming in. Someone is asking, do you see global sourcing shifting even more to regional models even next 2 to 3 years? Feel free to unmute. Rod, you want to react maybe
Well,
to this?
the simple answer is yes. I'm seeing a trend away from global to regional, but also local, because of the penalty of long lead times are placing on the purchase of items. That means that we're being less flexible in a increasingly volatile world. So certainly in the Australasian part of the world, is the drive to get more locally sourced items than having to go. In our case, it could be Italy or the US, but it's far easier to go to New Zealand or Australia or local.
Okay. Aniaban?
Well, my answer is little bit in between yes and no, because the shifting first of all depends on the product. Now the source need to be there regionally, so that you can plan shifting to regional sources. If the source are far off, then the answer perhaps no. Second thing is that if the region we are talking about single source, then we always pressurized or we always plan for multiple sources from risk mitigation point of view. And that is also we try to get from two different uh, international zone or the economic zone, where two different power center is working, because the world is perhaps dividing into two or three power center. So it is not a straightforward yes that for me that the global sourcing will not going to shift to the regional model, because it's not a welcome move perhaps as well, because the amount of pressure we each one of is having on the getting the right product at the best cost, and again the timing and the lesser risk. So it is going to depend. Still we believe that is a global village, and we'll get it from any corner of the world where all dots connect.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Let's start. Yeah. Yuan, yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Before we jump into the next question.
I would say yes. Up to now, that's the trend. That's the all the companies trying to do improve their supply chain efficiency, and it's connected with, I would say, the going forward. It's very hard to say regional or global. It's more. Do you have a good structure to evaluate the cost from end to end, from your sourcing country to your market? And that will guide you for the better decision in terms of, do you need a global sourcing still is working, or regional sourcing because of logistics challenges or the tariff challenges. But keep it in that like optimize. Yeah, any model is optimized for your business at the moment, and it's good to go.
Okay.
The,
All
o-
right. Let's.
the other comment I'd make, Max,
Yeah.
there
Right. Yeah.
is it also depends on what the consumer is prepared to pay for. So connecting, price as the sole driver may not be it. We're seeing a huge growth in ideal in food a lot, and the organic market is growing quickly here, and people are prepared to pay for it. And so that also spins off into the sustainability argument and the ability to grab a larger share of market by, not necessarily a cheaper product.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go to the next question. Okay. That's a question. Interesting one from Nadia. Is China plus one really working, or are we just shifting risk to other countries like Vietnam or India? Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. Everybody have been trying to shift away from China, but there are risks pretty much everywhere. So, what's your take on this? What do you think? Is that strategy working, or just shifting risk? Aniaban, yeah.
So I'll echo perhaps my last answer, that again, of course, China plus one, but it is not a China. It is something like that. You should have at least two or three sources, because of the volatility, because of the risk, and we cannot have zero inventory. That's something we cannot think of. So if we believe that we must have our pipeline inventory risk free, or it may be a agile inventory, so there must be a additional source other than one country. It's necessarily not to be China. There could be few things which we are taking from Europe as well, or for Africa. So it is not that a particular region or a country, but multiple sources is the need of the hour. And if we found that sources are coming from Vietnam or India, why not? So it's just fit to the purpose. It is not that we, without looking to the purpose, we set our procurement strategy and we end up in nowhere. So it has to fit the purpose, and of course there has to have multiple sources if possible, because that is the need of the hour.
Yeah. Anybody else want to react on this question? Yeah, Yuan, yeah.
Yeah, I had a chance to talk to many Chinese manufacturers who are moving their facility to the Southeast Asia, South Asia, or probably have a plan already on. A lot of challenges moving, relocate their capacities and machinery. Even the biggest challenge has been train the workers, local workers, to be up to the level of the efficiency. And however, every conversation when I end, I ask, are you regretting or are you going to make a different decision now? And they said no. They will continue move because currently the business case still working. That's it, right? Because the tariff and their customer from US is really demanding either they have to choose to stay in China and finish their business because customer will not buy, or they will go to the other place and solve the challenge there. But the business case still working for them. They still see the business in the profit is still there, right? It's challenge, yes. It's definitely difficult, super difficult. I think it's very hard to say like black and white question, right? Is this working? It is working in the company I've been talking to. They still will do that, and they are still doing that.
Yeah. Anybody else on that China plus one strategy? What's your take on this? You think it's working? Iqbal, yeah.
Thank you, Max. Well, I think it's the same like don't put your eggs in the same basket, right? So the company is what the need for the company to maintain their competitive advantage is the sustainability of supply. So the basket must be more than only one basket. So China plus one, I think it's really working. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Sandeep?
So if you see the current scenario with the kind of the manufacturing basis China has, I don't think so it's going anywhere, literally. Okay, but definitely with the world trying to localize manufacturing, bring it closer into their country, just because of the manufacturing setups and the economy, and also because of the job situations individually on a local basis, definitely there has to be something which is going to come in few years, which is parallel to it. When, how, I don't think so I have an answer to that.
Yeah, and that's interesting that you mentioned because that localized manufacturing could actually be powered by Chinese companies as well. So, because a lot of them are moving factories into Europe and Africa and other countries, right? So,
correct.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, let's move on to the next question. There are much more to come. So Yanisa is asking a lot of tech tools for sourcing. Yeah, we can talk about technology here, but adoption is low. What's a quick win with digital here? So have you guys are using sourcing tools? Are they working? Are you getting the ROI? Are you happy with it? Can you share maybe your views on this, on technology? Anybody has experience with sourcing tool? Anybody?
Uh, so this is a very, very lucrative space. As a supply chain professional or procurement professional, we want to be digital. We must be digital, and there are 100 technology or 100 companies always standing and offering their solution. Most important thing, first you should look into the need of your business and try to get used case who are similar kind of operation or criticality or the scale is already handling. uh, Experimenting with procurement tool can be catastrophic, because end of the day you are not using the tool for experiment. It is the tool you are using for to get the value discovery. You are using the tool to get your best visibility, transparency. So in case you end up with a wrong tool, because implementation and adaptation is taking good 3 to 6 months, if not more. I'm saying minimum 6 months time you need. It goes for a toss. So what we are already having a tool. I don't want to take any name at this moment. What we did, we tried to extensively researched and we ensured that already they are successfully running for a decent amount of time. I'm not say quite a time because technology is changing every day in the similar kind of industry or company, and there's a decent feedback. We go with me too kind of a concept rather than inventing the wheel or try to be adventurous in this arena. We try to be tested, trusted kind of a tool. We spend a decent amount of money because we realize that we try to save a penny over here, we may end up losing dollar somewhere. So that is our approach. I'm talking about the approach what we adopted.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else would like to react before we take the next question? And Kit, yeah,
I think
feel free. Yeah. Okay.
I will put it in a very simple words. What is the need? That's what you need to define first. Okay. And quick wins, guys. Any tool you adopt, be it there are of course what we use. I cannot take the name, but of course I can take the names of the tools available in the market. Let's say Coupa, Jagger, uh, or you can say even Ariba. Okay. So whatever you, let's say, adopt it for your need, you have to first define what is your need. Tools will come with all the features, facilities. Let's say you want to have the proper e-sourcing perspective. You face difficulties in the RFQs. It's okay, adopt it. At the same time, you also have to define it, the implementation for a specific category or area or the region. You cannot straight away implement it. Maturity period also will take time. I would suggest a minimum 2 to 3 quarters. I have seen it takes sometimes even more than like 5 quarters. So
Okay.
maturity hits and trials. It always quick win is something you cannot say anticipate it's a quick win, but again for a long term perspective, you have to look at it after 6 months down the line, 1 year down the line.
Mm, okay. Interesting. Let's go to the next question. We have more coming. So, someone is asking, is referring to inflation and foreign exchange volatility, saying it's killing us. How do you manage currency risk in contracts? That's a pretty technical question. Anybody has experience with currency and inflation can help that person. Feel free to. Yes, Sandeep. Yeah.
See, currency risk can only be managed by either the hedging part, or second thing is if you can read the geopolitical situation correctly. If you see classical Egypt, there has been a devaluation. Pakistan, Lebanon, there has been a devaluations over last 5 years. Okay. Or it can be managed again. The same thing I'm reiterating back, get it local, build it local. Because the first thing that happens in such kind of risk is curtailing of the imports, because the banks also don't have dollars. And that's the same thing we have seen in Lebanon, Egypt, and Pakistan. We have almost 95% localized the product, whatever it is at that point of time.
Mm,
Because the inflation is so killing that it will not allow the product to get in on a viable cost. So the product will get in, but the cost will not be optimized to literally sell the product and make some money out of it. So
okay. Yeah. Good point. Yeah. Deepak.
Yeah, I think as Sandeep mentioned, companies are already doing natural hedging, so matching sourcing currency with the revenue currency in that particular market. So I can understand this is a challenge, but I think with uh, your contract modification, I think a lot of things can be done to make sure that the risks are mitigated. Yeah.
So
Okay.
there's one more point on that. So basically, in such kind of contract, the currency which is defined is a normal common currency, maybe a dollar or a euro, and based on that it happens. But then definitely there are clauses which has some after effects and if and but situations on that. That what is the situation, and a lot of time these kind of contracts are left open for discussions rather than a formula-based processes, because you don't know the situation sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, sorry, it's a bit repeating gonna be. It's hedging, yes, is a company decision, and also in the contract and in the clause define a scenario. That is what we do, and hit the scenario, but the ranges, and then cater the new negotiation, update the price. That's not so creative, but that's very practical.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to. We got 5 or 6 more minutes before we wrap up, and there's more questions coming in. Shandan is asking, could a long-term sourcing contract provide advantages given the present circumstances? Anyone?
Okay, my take on this is almost no, because it the current situation, global sourcing situation, market situation, definition of long term, at maximum 1 quarter or 2 quarter. Beyond that, we really don't know what is going to happen in terms of dollar value, in terms of availability, in terms of tariff. Everything is changing overnight, and in such volatile situation, getting into a long term contract is kind of a gambling. We really don't know where, at what side we end up. So for us, we are consciously we are trying to avoid the long term sourcing contract, specifically for any materials. If it is a service, it is a different scenario, but for a material contracting, we are trying to be a little conservative, because we have to be market ready. We have to ensure that our products are still viable to the consumer. So
Yeah.
that is our take from our organizational point of view.
Fair point. Yeah. Yeah. Deepak?
Yeah, I mean, in our case, particularly because on the customer side also we have multi-year contracts. So it's natural that we also enter into multi-year deals with our semiconductor and network component suppliers, just to protect against any global shortage or price surges. But I think as long as you lock in pricing capacity, supply priority, and everything, I think this works fantastically.
Okay. Sandeep?
Yes or no, both, depending upon the situation. If you see 2022, when the commodity was heating up badly, the commodity was fluctuating very, very badly. I'm talking of the commodity, world commodity. At that time, short-term contracts are good, because even if you want, the supplier will not give you long-term contract because he doesn't want to take that risk. Okay, so the either risk. But if you see today, based on commodity to commodity, sometimes long-term contracts are good, because it creates a stability, but definitely it has got some kind of read between the line points, which has to be documented properly. Because if these things happen, then what has to be done, that cause and effect situations has to be documented properly on the contracts.
Okay. Yuan?
Yeah, I would say it works as long as you define the purpose of the long-term sourcing. I think long-term shouldn't be only focused on the cost, because that would probably not work. Long-term, you want a capacity security, that you need to lock the relationship with a supplier, which we did this with the carriers, ocean carriers, when I was leading ocean transport in IKEA. Out of the COVID years, that we will need them, simply that we lock them with long term, and we also use our deep knowledge about the market, which is difficult. I agree with my peer have said that the market is more difficult to predict the rate and all the stuff, but because capacity is our life threatened stuff, so we need to go for the long term. That's the purpose. And also the long term could bring innovation. If you find the right partner, you see this partner that we want to go with you with the long term, but we need to develop something together. This is advantage edge, and that also could trigger the long term contract, where all this give you a long term benefit. But possibly it could be measured by the cost. Possibly it could be measured that you get capacity, you get your cargo delivered to the place you sell, you have the revenue of the sales, or you get some new technologies through this long-term relationship. It's much more on the cost perspective. I would say.
Okay, yeah. And Kate, and after Rod, yeah.
I will just try to put a very different perspective, let's say from the current industry I'm working. So we have the power plants, desalination plants. We have to we have to ensure that our plants are running and then producing. At the same time, if you look at these plants and then maintenance contracts are of like almost 40 years, 30 years aging. And you have these robust machines which are installed and then will have a service life for the overall, let's say, life cycle of 30 to 40 years. In this case, let's say if you have this long-term contracts with the equipment manufacturer, then it really helps. Because if you look at every second year, third year, you have a new model, new technologies been coming up for, especially look at the gas turbines, look at the different megawatt wind turbines are coming up, steam turbines. I'm just quoting few things, okay?
Yeah.
uh, Long term agreements with the equipment manufacturer, specifically when you have the, let's say, quite aged machinery and equipment, and then you're not gonna get the support. It gonna be more, not costlier. You have to look at from the overall, let's say, life cycle perspective, right? The disruption in a power plant or desalination will cost you more money than buying it or a pricing impact. So you have to look at that perspective also. Especially, it's a very different perspective.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ankit. Rod, you got 20 seconds, and then we need to wrap up. Yeah. What's your final word
I'll,
on this? Yeah.
is to bring back a term called the total cost of acquisition, where I put price in the middle. Delivery, quality, price, continuous improvement, risk management. And I agree, it depends on the situation and the supplier and your environment. But I just want to bring back total cost of acquisition as a term, or ownership, whatever one term you use.
Okay, thank you very much. Again, sorry, we're not going to be able to take the other questions we were posted. Thanks, Robin, for the comment. There was also another interesting question about the big mistake companies make, but sorry, we won't be able to take it. I made a promise to wrap up before the end of the hour. I want to thank you, Ankit, Anirban, Deepak, Iqbal, Yuan, Rod, Sandeep, also, who's just disappeared, for being with us. Thanks for sharing your insights. Thank you for the audience for all those great questions. If you missed part of the discussion, we are going to be, we recorded the session and the replay will be made available tomorrow on chain.net. So thanks again to all of you for joining this discussion on global sourcing. We'll make it happen. We have a number of other topics that we want to cover. So we'll make sure to organize a follow-up session in the coming weeks. Thank you, all of you, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.